Hey kids, Tavi Rider here. As you can see, I've been doing a lot of science with the new pistons that were introduced in version 1.7, and I've been trying to figure out how they behave and how they interact with all these different block types, and I've only found a handful of bugs worth mentioning, things that you should watch out for while using pistons. This is all as of version 1.7.2. If some of these bugs are fixed in the future, I'll put annotations on this video, so keep an eye out for those. Maybe these will be fixed. The first one, I think this one's the most important one. There are cases that can make a piston not retract when it should. So we have just a piston and two blocks with levers on them. We can extend and retract the piston with this lever. This lever has no effect because it's too far away from the piston. Now, if we extend the piston and then we power the block on top and then try to retract the piston doesn't move. Something about the fact that this block is powered has prevented the piston from updating and realizing that it should retract because there's no longer power next to it. And we can even remove that power. It doesn't have any effect, but anything that triggers the piston to update will fix it. So if you place a block next to it, it'll retract. This has been sort of misreported as a problem with pistons interfering with each other. If you put a piston up here, you can go through the steps to create the problem. So extend it, power this block, which also extends the piston, and then try to retract this piston. Again, this is a bad state. It should have retracted. Now, if I retract this piston above, two things happen. First, it retracts, and that causes the blocks around it to update, so that causes this one to fix itself. And so both pistons retract. It's just one of the cases where you'd be more likely to find the problem. It happens with either kind of piston. I just happen to use a sticky piston here. The next issue happens with ice blocks. Normally you can move an ice block no problem, but moving it vertically causes some various problems. Now, this is a sticky piston. If I extend that sticky piston, the piston's shaft and plate have disappeared. That's just a visual bug, but if I retract it again, the ice is pulled out, but it also generates water starting from an invisible source block. I don't think there's an actual source block there. It's just that it generated water around it. You can fix this by placing a block there, and all the water will go away. That just sort of updates all the water around it. So something odd about moving ice vertically with a sticky piston. You can also do this with a regular piston. When you extend it, it pushes the ice block down. It's still in there. It generates water, flowing water around it, and a source block, and the piston's shaft and plate disappear. So when you retract, it fixes the problem. The water updates and realizes it shouldn't be there, and the ice block is now moved. So be careful if you're trying to move ice vertically. The next couple have to do with if you're standing on blocks as they're moved by a piston. So here I am standing. I'm standing only on this one dirt block, and when I extend the piston, I fall through the block and take a little bit of damage. Now this doesn't happen if you are standing across two blocks that are being moved. You see I'm on this seam, and the blocks move just fine. I don't fall through. So you have to be standing just in an unlucky position for that to happen. You can get the same effect. This is a sticky piston here. If you're standing on the block that the sticky piston is moving, I fell through it, sort of got nudged outside of it, but the same thing happens. And if you have blocks around it, you can stay standing up on top of it without an issue. And the last few things have to do with minecart tracks. Weird things can happen when you push them around. Now, this first part is what I would expect to have happen. This piston is going to push these two rails along, and this one is going to be out in the air, and so it pops off as a rail that you can pick up. This rail will move over. So that's about the best you could expect if a piston starts pushing around rail. But when I retract this, well, that's a minor issue. That curved piece of rail is now straight. You're going to expect weird things if you're breaking rails and moving them around. So for the most part, moving them horizontally works fine, but moving them vertically, you get all sorts of weird things. So that's a sticky piston. It's going to reach down. That's close enough to grab this piece of powered rail, and when I retract it, it makes this arch of rail, and this is working rail, actually. You can ride your way right through it, no problem. little odd looking, and it's very brittle. Whenever you have rail that's not actually the way it's supposed to be, if you place a block near it or if anything updates it, it'll break. And as a matter of fact, if I push it back down again, those 2 bits of sloped rail break. So watch out for moving that vertically. Now, you may think instead, let me show you this from the other side, this is a regular rail, I'm sorry, a regular piston. It'll push this block up, and that will extend the railway up one. And so this looks about as you'd expect. It was able to reroute the rails. Now there's sloped rail on either side. And but you'd also expect that you could push it back down again, that this top piston would be able to push both the powered rail and the dirt block back down in place. But what happens is the 2 bits of sloped rail pop off, so you don't end up with what we started with. So, minor issue. Just watch out for using pistons to push around any kind of rail. So that's it. Keep an eye out for any future bug reports. And by the way, if you want to find out what I'm working on, you might want to follow my Twitter feed. I'm at @TaviRider. And I update what I'm working on. I ask questions, basically get in touch with all the people who watch my videos. So, that's it. Thanks for watching.